Every day we are judged by our marks, by knowledge, by our family background, and where we come from. We are also judged by our gender, and I'm sure this audience knows that more than anyone. But long before the society started judging us, there is something which already has our genes. Not as a label, not as destiny, but as a starting point. Each of us are born with a biological script, a script we did not choose. But yet, no two scripts are the same. These all scripts are unique. But what makes us unique is not just our genes, it's how they meet our life. Our nutrition, our stress, our education, our freedom, our inequalities. We do exist in this world of inequalities. And genes just mold them in a way. Two people with same genetic potentials live a very different life. And what does it depend on? It depends on whether they come from a world of privilege or poverty, peace or conflict, opportunities or silence. But now we have something else that has entered this relationship. That is technology. Genes no longer speak alone. They speak now with data, with algorithm, and with machine learning. From Mendel counting peas in a garden to today, machines telling us exactly which mutation is present on which gene, we have come a long way. This story is not just about biology, it is about power, about ethics, about biases, and it is about choices. And the story from Mendel to machine learning is important, especially to you. So 150 years ago, a monk named Gregor Mendel sat quietly in a monastery and he counted peas. He grew pea plants as a hobby. And what he observed was there were smooth peas, wrinkled peas, short peas, tall peas. And in this ordinary pea plant growing, he found something extraordinary. That traits are inherited. That something invisible crosses from one generation to another. And this changed science forever. But the world of Mendel was simple. For him, traits were either tall, traits were either short, black or white. For him, it was like tossing a coin. And for a long time, this dwelled into human disorders, into human lives as well. Strong or not, capable or not, beautiful or not. But it was not so easy. And we could not compare what Mendel did to what really genetics is. And of course, the potential of humans is not as neatly defined as peas in a garden. Now, from garden and greenhouses, we moved into hospital. Genetics came from peas to practice. Genetics came everywhere. It changed from inheritance to disorders. Now, genetics was about children who could not walk, about babies who could not breathe, and about families who were repeatedly told that you have a genetic disorder, there is no treatment, about the exhaustion, about the misery. But then genetics started having treatments. It became present everywhere. 1 in 10 people today are living with a genetic disorder worldwide. And half of the hospital admissions in children's hospitals are due to genetic conditions. That is a huge number. Disorders like spinomuscular atrophy, where a death was guaranteed in infancy, those children are now sitting, those children are walking, and those children have returned to life. Inborn errors of metabolism, once the children who slowly deteriorated, today these children are going to school. And these do sound like miracle stories, and they are. But miracles are not neutral, and miracles do not arrive evenly. How do these miracles arrive? These miracles arrive when these diagnoses are achieved early. These miracles arrive when technology exists, and these miracles arrive when someone knows what to look for and they act on it. The act is important. Now, such precision of acting on what you really want is not limited to disorders I just mentioned, the childhood disorders. Let's take cancer, a common disorder. Cancer is mostly genetic as well. Now, for decades, the treatment of cancer was the same drug for everyone. We used to ask which organ and give the same drug, same doses, different people. But today, it is not so simple. We just don't ask that which organ is involved. We also ask that which genetic factor is leading to this particular cancer. And the changes and the treatments have been transformative. People have gained not just months but years. And this is known as precision oncology. You identify the target of cancer and you treat it. Now, cancer is not only related to molecular therapy, there is also immune therapy. Based on the genetic targets, we also can train our immune system to act accordingly. So this has transformed life of these survivors. So great, the stories are all great in different parts of the world. All this data definitely did not start with our country. These stories are not evenly distributed, especially not in country like ours. In countries where the society is not neutral, genetics is not neutral as well. Now, in countries like India, the society is driven by gender inequalities, is driven by deep-rooted biases and familial hierarchies. There is no equilibrium in this country. Now we come on to how the socialism affects the genetic nomenclature as well. Let's talk about biases and how this affects genetics and a clinical practice. Let me tell you about a couple. A couple who comes to me way often. They come with recurrent abortions. They want a child desperately. They come with abortions, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes more. They sit across the table and I tell them that why is their pregnancy lost repeatedly? And I tell them that there could be a genetic defect or a genetic variant in one of you and we need to test both of you. The room becomes silent. They all look at the woman in question and say, test her first. I then reiterate, chromosomes no gender, we need to test the couple again. Still resistance. And in that moment, I'll say something I've never said publicly before. I pray that the report of that woman comes back normal. And it is not because I want science to protect her. It is because I know what an abnormal report can do to her. It can lead to more blame, more scrutiny, and more permission for discrimination. And what if the son's report came abnormal? First of all, there is a lot of denial. Nothing can be wrong with my son. But then this is followed by a lot of conflict that genetics is complicated, the fault is not his, and still it remains to the fact that the personality is important. So much discrimination, so much bias. So the story now comes on to the fact that genetics just doesn't reveal biology, it also reveals the fact that who the society wants to question and who does it want to protect. Which era are we going to stay in, the Mendel or the machine learning? Now let's come to machine learning. So for millions of years, we know that these traits have been inherited, but were they of any use? Was knowing this information really relevant? Then I spoke about genetic disorders. But 20 years back, getting back a genetic report took months to even years. But today, genetics has become much faster. The reports that we could get in 2 months, now we get in 2 days. Critically ill newborns in the ICUs now get their information and treatment in 1 to 2 days. So machine learning is faster, machine learning is more efficient. Millions of sequences, lots of genes are sequenced together by this transformative tool known as next generation sequencing. The machines have helped us build gene therapies. That is, we can go and change the gene in question and give a person a new life. We have CRISPR-Cas editing technologies where we can, in a whole library, go and change the letter of that one book we desire to in our whole genome. So the power of machine learning is immense. And the reach of genetics is immense as well. But let's come on to machine learning, that is it fair? Speed does not equal fairness. Machines again depend on data. And data comes from history. What history we feed the machine, they will again just give that back to us. It's okay when it is limited to sequences. But when the machine thinks that this society has been discriminating against women, the machine will learn that. And when the machine or the data knows that this section is underrepresented, the machine will again learn that. So maybe machine learning is not the answer. We need to question, again, what are we trying to find here? So now comes you and your role in this whole process. So science and genetics cannot only belong to scientist and laboratory. Technology without a social component is not in isolation, it becomes very powerful. So this power that has been given to science and to genetics has to come with a social responsibility. If voices like yours are missing, then the traits of yesterday, the inequalities of yesterday will be inherited today and will be called as risk predictions or score. There will be no debate about this because now it is being given by the machines. But if you are present, if all of you are in this with us, then we can ask questions, we can challenge genetics, and we can demand accountability. Making genetic testing a tool for everyone, a tool for justice. This tool can help transform millions of lives together, not just in our country, but in the world. So, what my message here is that the social aspect of genetics is as important as the clinical aspect. Genetics is not going to be only restricted to laboratories. I want it to go to classrooms, to court, to policies, and to front lines of newspaper where we all coexist together. And this will be done by people who understand power, by people who understand ethics, by people who hear and resist silence, by people like you. And that is how we move from Mendel to machine learning.